Witnesses who were in the Pennsylvania crowd said they could see the suspected gunman moving around.
Listen to what they said.
I was looking around myself and seeing a guy on top of one of the buildings.
We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police are like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on.
Well, now we want to bring in a security expert, Phil Andrew. Phil, you were with the FBI for more than 2 decades, specializing in national security and crisis situations. We know the FBI will lead the investigation. So take us through what they will be doing in the early stages, especially as we hear these witnesses who say they were the ones that had to alert authorities.
That's right, Eric. They're going to be scrubbing all of the witnesses. They're going to be gathering some of the digital evidence. That includes camera. Maybe even news footage that we've seen repeated here, getting it from different angles and analyzing that as well as all the entry points. And they are going to backtrack where this assailant came from. They're going to dig into their background. And I expect in the coming hours and days that we're going to have a greater insight into the motivation, the affiliation, and have some greater insight into why this happened.
Phil, these events have become so safe and the security so tight. We've heard a lot tonight about these 3 tiers, the inner, the medium, and the outer circles. How do you think this happened, in your opinion?
Well, as you heard from Tim McCarthy, really an American hero, and knows all too well that when the bad guys get the shot off first, we're always in a position where we're going to be reacting. So the reality is that there's nothing that's completely airtight, but the Secret Service and their partners in local law enforcement are always evaluating how to improve these situations. But in situations like this, where it's open air and opportunities from great distance might create vulnerabilities, working with partners to make sure those are secured, we're going to have to understand exactly how this took place before we can really comment on whether there was some sort of problem that we need to be addressing in future incidents.
Well, speaking of future incidents, some people are already saying, well, we have copycats. You know, of course, we have the RNC coming up starting on Monday. What additional precautions can be taken to stop other potential suspected gunmen? And with the RNC, do you see any changes in safety measures there?
I think that we are really kind of buttoning up the security for the RNC and the DNC, and preparations are still being implemented there, obviously for the DNC here in Chicago in a few weeks, but the RNC be kicking off tomorrow. But I think one of the most basic things, it really comes down to the see something, say something. And one, for folks that know people who are demonstrating a risk to themselves or others, or articulating any kind of threat, we need to alert law enforcement and allow for law enforcement to remove weapons from those dangerous individuals. Now, we have some indication in this case that the crowd had seen potentially this assailant moving into position and trying to alert police. We don't know all the details around this, but obviously in any scenario like this, communication is critical. Not only helping people know what to look for, but who to contact and then how to communicate that very, very quickly.
Phil, where does the FBI begin its work on this? I mean, there is so much, I'm sure, that it has to look into, from the weapon, the ammunition that was used, the distance away from the stage, all of these things that will be looked at, I'm sure. Where does that begin for the FBI?
It's going to begin right there at that crisis site and gathering those basic pieces of evidence like the firearm, the identity of the assailant. But then this investigation literally could go worldwide, depending on what affiliation, what motivation, what mediums were used to communicate, support, influence, provide financing, where the firearm came from, last conversations, last points of contact, or places, residents, relatives. No stone will be unturned in this investigation.
Phil, the DA there in Butler County was saying that he was shocked by this because it's been so long since there has been an assassination attempt on a former president or a sitting president. But he also questioned whether people have gotten too comfortable. Was there enough security? As you've been in the FBI over the last few decades and now seeing what's going on, is there any sort of difference in the way that situations like this are approached?
I don't think so. You have the highest level of trained professionals doing this work every day, and they take this very seriously. Not just the Secret Service, but now the FBI agents and those that will be following up on this investigation. So, but there are environmental challenges that are very, very difficult to match. We have a gun violence problem in this country. We have easy access to firearms. In your earlier reporting, a zone that is a red zone where no firearm is allowed, separated by a chain link fence, and then a less secure zone where somebody can carry a concealed weapon. We just don't have the ability to know what's in every person's heart and the ability to really invite the entire population, our country, our communities, to help us understand who's at risk, who's presenting a threat to themselves and others, and then allowing law enforcement to remove those guns. Those are two very, very basic things that you just have to get right. And we have to get it right every time, and a bad guy only has to get it right once.
Phil, this is your area of expertise. I'm wondering on a personal level what your reaction was when you heard what had happened and then turned on the TV to see it.
Well, this is very sad. It's very sad for our country. We are at a pivotal time where we need to be focused on the direction of our country. And for some individual, and I have to imagine that they are disconnected from reality and probably have pre-incident indicators that clearly dictate that they have some sort of threat to themselves or others, now has thrown us into this turmoil. But one thing that I feel is very hopeful is that America is very strong, and this country and our communities are very strong when they feel like they're under attack or they've been injured. And what I'm very uplifted to see is all of the focus on President Trump's health for those that have been injured and those still that we're hopeful that will come out of this. Those that may have been lost, and really that becoming a rallying point for us to recognize we have way more in common and a nation to be proud of and chart a course for than to be divided over those that are cowardly and try to distract us.
Phil, you know, we've been reporting on the fact that the shooter is deceased. When you're having these types of investigations, what drawbacks are there when you don't have a shooter, or a suspected shooter, I should say, in this case, to interview? What is the difference that an FBI team would be undertaking when you have a shooter that is dead?
Well, certainly it can be very helpful to have an opportunity to interview a suspect in this case, but in many cases they could refuse to cooperate with an investigation. So we're really at the same starting point. And there's a lot of physical evidence. There's a lot of very strong leads to be working on. No question that this assailant has been identified. Yeah. And as we speak, agents and law enforcement across the country are overturning every stone and revealing their last movements, and we will have some insights into their motivation. Even in some cases, notes could be left. You know, some of these attacks are taken on with the contemplating a potential suicide. So we don't know any of this at this point, but we will because of the attention and the all hands on deck investigation that's going to be that is underway right now.
You think we'll know a lot more in the morning, Phil?
There's no question. Now, one of the difficulties in this is how that can be shared. that the ability for law enforcement to dig deeply and preserve the integrity of the investigation, they always have to balance that with what they're able to share with the public. You guys know this well, but we will have to be patient and appreciate that the integrity of the investigation and its thoroughness is going to be paramount.
Phil, you speak about the investigation singularly as if there is one. Can you take us through what that will actually look like? Because we're also hearing that the House Oversight Committee, a member there, wants a hearing with the Secret Service, independent investigations, that the Secret Service is also in the midst of conducting an investigation. So how does that all work in tandem or separate?
Well, those are going to be very separate inquiries. The after-action review that the Secret Service will conduct internally, which it does regularly, it does even when things don't go wrong. They're constantly improving, so that will be a matter of course. The Secret Service will be doing that. There'll also be additional review because we had this incident and an actual shooting take place. So that's going to be a review to, one, find out if there's things that we can learn to improve security, two, if there's anything that went wrong that we need to fix for the future. But then there's be a separate criminal investigation and inquiry into an attempted assassination here of a former president and a candidate for the U.S. presidency. So those will be separate inquiries. There will be overlapping because some of the information, the witnesses will be providing that. Now, what happens in Congress will really be a completely third inquiry, which will be focused much more on the leads of those agencies and trying to understand if additional resources, improvement, or if there's some kind of augmentations that need to take place to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future.
Phil, Andrew, we always appreciate your insight. Thank you so much for your time.
You bet.